Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Admiral Harris and Ambassador Scheer, for all you do. Thanks for being here to answer our questions. Admiral Harris, you said that we need to ratify the Law of the Sea Treaty in order to acquire some type of moral high ground, particularly relative to Russia and China. I'm having a hard time seeing why it is that a country that is like the United States, that has used its power, its blood, and its treasure to protect navigation all over the world for 200 years, has to, in order to gain some moral high ground, ratify this particular treaty. Can you help me understand that?
Sure, Senator. The lack of signing the treaty doesn't affect our ability to be the strongest nation on the earth. But the lack of signing that treaty puts us at a disadvantage in discussions with most of the other countries in the world that have signed the treaty in moral standing, if you will. So we lose nothing by signing off on the treaty, but we lose a lot by not signing it.
And what is the it that we lose? And part of what I'd ask in connection to that, you've got one of the claims is that it might help us solve the South China Sea territorial disputes. But all the nations in the South China Sea, including China, that have coastline along the South China Sea, are members of the treaty. They're all parties to the treaty. The Philippines has brought a lawsuit against China under the treaty, and China, as I understand it, has basically ignored it. So how does that mean that this fixes the problem if we suddenly ratify the treaty?
Well, I don't think it would suddenly fix the problem, but as you said, the Philippines has brought a case against China in The Hague, an international tribunal for law of the sea, on two issues. One, on the veracity of the 9-dash line claim itself, and then the second issue is whether the tribunal has jurisdiction to even judge that case. And we have supported the Philippines' right to take the claim to the International Tribunal, and in fact, we've praised them for doing so. And yet, we're not a signatory to the treaty itself. And if you shift to the Arctic, if you look at the outrageous claims that Russia has made in the Arctic Ocean, they're making those claims under their interpretation of the Law of the Sea Convention. And when we criticize them for those claims, they say that we have no standing to do so. And I would submit that most of the rest of the world who also has signed off on the treaty would probably share that opinion, or at least part of it. On the other side, we have agreed as a policy to follow the precepts in the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. So we have that for us, but we're not a signatory to it. And again, I would say that, in my opinion, we lose nothing by signing it, and we lose a lot of moral high groundedness, if you will, by not signing it.
But if we're following the precepts in the treaty, notwithstanding the fact that we haven't ratified it and we're therefore not formally a party to it, I struggle with how that changes the moral high ground, and particularly when I don't think there's any country on earth that has a greater claim to moral high ground, particularly when it comes to navigational issues, when it comes to naval issues, than the United States, which for 200 years has kept shipping lanes open and safe. Can you tell me what navigational rights, if any, does the Navy lack today that it would suddenly have if we were to ratify that treaty?
Sir, the Navy would lack nothing, whether we ratify the treaty or not. The United States would gain standing by signing off on the treaty.
And that standing, how would that standing benefit us in a material way relative to our interests in that part of the world?
Well, in some cases, under the convention sets up a framework for ocean exploration, for example, and it says that without getting into some of the real particulars, you go out to 200 miles, and that's your continental your exclusive economic zone, and then out beyond that is the open ocean zone, if you will. And there are companies today, American companies, that won't explore out in that region beyond the 200-mile exclusive economic zone because they're not sure whether any competing claim will have an effect on them or whether they will lose in this international tribunal or other places. So I think that we lose an economic opportunity by not signing off on the treaty because it places in jeopardy the legal question, not the military or the strength question, but it places in jeopardy the legal question of what happens out beyond the exclusive economic zone for our companies that will gain an economic benefit from that.
Okay. I see my time's expired. I don't doubt the sincerity of your feelings on this. I would take issue with one aspect of what you said, though, that regardless of what benefits you might see from this, I wouldn't say that signing on to a treaty is without any cost on our part and without us giving up anything, particularly whereas here the treaty sets up a system that would, however incrementally, erode our national sovereignty. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlemen, thank you for your